Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this episode of BiblioTech on Air. I'm Rosanna.
I'm Miranda.
I'm Ruby.
And today we're going to be talking about the very popular book, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Quick little summary for y'all. Atmosphere is a 1980s set historical fiction / romance novel following Joan Goodwin, an astrophysicist training to be one of NASA's first female space shuttle astronauts. The story, featuring a secret romance with fellow astronaut Vanessa Ford, explores ambition, misogyny, and intense personal stakes.
Very nice. Okay. So let's get into it. So the first question is pretty basic, but have y'all read any of her other books? If you have, how did this compare to it? If you haven't, what did y'all think of reading one of her first books?
I only read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six, and I really loved both those books. So had pretty high expectations going into this one, and sure enough, it exceeded them.
What about for you?
I had only read so far The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and that one was great. That one felt like, kind of like almost a telenovela, dramatic plot twist after plot twist,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this one felt more like quietly intense, a bit more intimate, and I really like that. Like, I know that Taylor Jenkins Reid, she's popular as an author for a reason. And so expectations going into this one, I would say they were high, but I'm not going to expect the same thing as Evelyn Hugo, It's definitely, different time period, different environment. So got to taper things a little bit, But with that said, I enjoyed it very much. More than I thought I was, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I always have high expectations going into her books because I've read all of them. So I always think I'm going to love it. And I loved this one. So it was really good.
Where do you rank it amongst the other books?
I honestly think it's pretty high for me. I think because it was like more on the emotional side, and her other books have been like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but her other ones weren't as emotional for me. So I think like when a book can make me feel for the characters and like have to pause and be like, oh dang, like I don't know if I can keep going, I think that's pretty high. So I'd say out of all of them, it's probably like my top 3 right now.
Dang.
Yeah. But yes.
Pretty good.
Very nice. Okay. And then what did you think about the start of the book and it just dropping you straight into the chaos, not telling you who anyone was, just throwing names at you and just like, here you are in space. What did y'all think about that?
I really liked it because it reminded me of Project Hail Mary, where it's like, this character has to die. And then starting off, these characters died. And this one, we don't know what's going to happen to her. I really liked that because then it leaves me... It eliminates the questioning of what's going to happen because I already know what's going to happen. Now it's just focusing on like, dang, how were these relationships were like to each other?
First of all, spoiler alert for Project Hail Mary. Thanks. But no, I enjoyed that too. It definitely, was a fresh way to start a book, if that makes sense. Just because, we get to know these characters and we get the build up, but that comes later, kind of like what Ruby was saying. And so just kind of like seeing what everything culminates to at the beginning. Interesting way to get everything going. And I like that. It really just made it seem like, oh, I need to find out what leads up to this. And, we find out, characters that do die. And unfortunately, you get attached to these characters later on in the book. So it's just kind of like, oh, man.
Yeah.
It really subverts
I
things.
always find it fascinating how knowing what happens in the end, like, these people die. I'm like, okay, well, then I feel like at the start of the book or start of the plot, when it comes to that, I'm like, oh, okay, like, I know what's going to happen. I'm not going to be sad in the end, because I know what's going to happen. But somehow I still ended up sad. So I really, really liked that. I really enjoyed that.
I really enjoyed the chaos of it starting like that because it made me want to keep reading because I was like, okay, but who are these people? Like, how did we get here? So it was really interesting because at first I was like confused. I was like, why are you throwing all these names at me? Like, I'm supposed to know who this person is and this person is. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know how they know each other. But then when it's like, oh, these people started the school together and they went through all this, I was like,
it really sets the stakes for everything.
I was like, oh, okay, like I'm not going to be okay. And then did your opinion of this choice of intro change as you read it, or did you just like it from the get-go, or did it have to grow on you?
I liked it from the get-go. Well, just again, kind of going back to what we were saying previously, it really set the pace, really set the tone for the book because it is much more of an emotional book. and finding out about these characters, the situation they're in, it makes you a bit more worried for them the more you read it. So it really, kind of stays in the back of your mind as you're following them throughout the years.
Yeah, I was like, I need to continuously, I caught myself. I'm like, I need to go back and reread the beginning of the book again to put me into that high stakes.
And then I agree. I also really liked how it started because, like I said, it just made me have questions. And then I was like, I need to keep reading to get those answered. So I feel like it really drew me in. And then the chapters obviously jumped a lot in time. How did that work for y'all? Did it make it confusing at all? Or do you think it just kept adding to that storyline and making you want to keep reading?
I don't think it was confusing at all. It was easy to follow along. I personally was reading I wasn't listening to the audiobook, so that made it a lot easier because it says date, year, when this is happening. But even then, it kind of, it does a good job of just not like dropping you in that time period. You're kind of like, oh, okay, this is where they're at. So I don't think it was really hard to follow along with like some other books that we've read that jump between time periods suddenly, and you're just like, what is going on?
Yeah,
it was such a breeze. I love like Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's like so easy to read. I'm like, oh, it just feels like such a warm breeze. But I really liked the going back and forth as well. It did not make it difficult at all.
Yeah, and it stayed fairly chronological, aside from when we, because it stayed basically 1981 to 1984, except for those moments where we would get dropped back into like 1984 when the event with the space shuttle was happening. But it never once for me threw me off, or I was like, dang it, this interrupted the story or ruined the pace. It never did that for me.
Yeah, I agree. If anything, when it was like the chaotic part and then it would go back to like 1981 or 2, I was like, dang, now I have to really get through this chapter because I want to see what else is happening in the other timeline. So I enjoyed it. I like books that go like that because I feel like it like keeps me entertained. Like it doesn't feel like it's just like, okay, then what? What?
As long as they do it well.
Yes, it has to be done well. Because yes, we have read books where I was just confused. And I was going back not because I wanted to remember things because it had been a second since I picked up the book. It was simply because I was like, oh, I don't remember reading that at all. Okay, and now that we talked a bit more about the structure, I want to get into more talk about the characters because I had some strong opinions about some of them.
Oh my goodness, please get into it. Read them for Phil.
So the first one I wanted to get y'all opinion on. What did you think of Joan's sister Barbara and Barbara's relationship with her daughter Frances?
There's words I can't say on this podcast that I feel about Barbara. She is a horrible sister, so self-centered, immature, and she is so self-projecting because everything that she calls out Joan for calls out. It's stuff about herself that she refuses to admit. And she falls into the classic trope of like, if I marry a man, that'll fix my life. Girl, no one can fix. Jesus can't fix your life. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're so right. I don't know. It's so crazy because there's some instances where I was like, oh, it seems like she's gotten it together a bit. Like she's aware. Like it's her character's so weird because she would have these moments where she would apologize to Joan and be like, you know what, you did a lot for me. You really raised Frances as well. Like you were in this with me. You did a lot, whatever. And then like in those moments, I was like, yes, like finally we got a breakthrough. And then she does some BS 5 minutes later after that. And I'm like, damn, girl, she just can't get it. But I don't know. It's just crazy. I mean, there's people like that exist where they're like, what about my life? I need to focus on myself. I'm like, girl, you're a mom. You don't unfortunately have that option.
Honestly.
Like you need to just deal with the cards that you were dealt with. Like you don't have the option to go find yourself and leave your daughter.
Agreed completely. And the scene you're talking about where she was like finally admitting that like maybe she could have listened to Joan more, and then follows it up with, and I'm sending her away to boarding school.
Exactly.
So thanks for all the help you did in her whole life, but like we don't need you anymore because she's just gonna go like be someone else's problem because she's such a brat and this and that. And I was like, how could you like describe your child like that? And first of all, she's not gonna be able to just like be happy for you in this marriage just because you're happy when she doesn't know this man. You told her that you were getting married out of the blue while they were watching the air balloons, while you told your sister at the same time. I'm like, you were just dropping stuff on her, changing up her whole life, not really being there, leaving her alone every night, not even eating dinner with her. She's not going to be happy. Oh my gosh, I was so upset. And when she said she was sending her to boarding school, I was like, I can't even be surprised. I can't even be surprised, but also what the heck?
It just sucks. Like their family moments were so nice and so heartwarming. Like the hot air balloons when they were all there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yes, let's just stay here. Everything's good. Let's not continue reading. But no, she just.
Those moments felt more sincere to me just because we had the dynamic of Vanessa, Joan, and, you know, Frances all together. Because if it had just been Joan, Frances, and then the sister and the husband, it would have felt, you know, off, unsincere. Kind of like her apology. Do you guys think that apology was sincere? Because personally, I find it as being, you know, it was superficial,
like
and it was just kind of her way to like wash her hands and absolve herself. Like, yeah, you did do something, but this is what I'm doing now. But thank you. But also, you know, it was, I don't find it sincere.
I did not think it was sincere. And I think how you described it is perfect. Washing her hands of not only her relationship with her sister, and her daughter, basically anyone she felt like was holding her back in a sense, just so she could go and like be the perfect person for her husband, who, by the way, said he didn't even want a child. Excuse me, you already have the child.
Yeah.
You have the child. It's not like it's a future thought. You have the child, and he didn't want her. And to get rid of your own child to please a man is crazy.
And there's people like that.
Yeah.
There are people like that. They will pick the man over their child.
Yes.
And it's like, you need to pick your child. Okay. It doesn't matter how much of your life you've given up.
Yes.
Whatever. Pick your damn child.
I thought it was like Joan is just truly the most angel person that could ever exist on this planet. Her empathy towards her own sister as well. Like when in those moments too, when she forgot to pick up her own daughter from school, and Joan had to go pick her up. I was like, Joan, blow her phone up. Where is she?
Yeah.
We need answers right now.
Blow her phone up at the payphone.
Like,
just
I
like
know.
a quarter every time.
I forgot this was the 80s, but still, I was like, oh, girl, you have too much empathy for her. Which, I mean, I was trying to wrap my head around as well. Like, why is she? Because Vanessa would argue with Joan as well. They would genuinely have arguments. It's like your sister, Vanessa was like, your sister's a horrible person. Like you need to be upfront and tell her some stuff. But I mean, I can kind of see where Joan's coming from. Like her sister has a lot of power. Maybe if she does stick up to her, she takes Frances away from being able to see Joan, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That whole thing, every time I was like, Lord. And the scene also you're talking about, that irked me because she was like, well, if you had set up the like machine to answer your messages, you would have seen I tried calling you. You left your daughter. Like you should have been talking to the school.
Yeah.
Like you should have been in contact with your daughter's school, not like putting it on your sister who had to drop NASA work. This girl's trying to be an astronaut, go to space. And you're like, well, you should just drop what you're doing because like I'm your sister.
Like she doesn't want to drop her life, but she expects everyone around her to sacrifice for her, you know, for her own little, you know, annoying and frustrating.
To follow up my last little thing for their relationship, Frances and Barbara, their dynamic. What were your feelings when you realized that the whole story of, oh, she's going to have so much fun, she has so many friends during Thanksgiving?
I don't know.
Fake.
I mean, yeah, it obviously was hard to trust Barbara at all. So I don't know. But then again, like it sounded like she was really doing good in school, making some friends there.
Yeah.
Some people do have to stay for holidays at school. You know, sometimes it'd be like that. But like Barbara had the power. She had the money. She had the resources to be able to bring her back home.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe she could have talked to Joan at least and been like, hey, you want to take her for Thanksgiving? You know, she could have done something like
a
that.
middle ground at least.
Yeah.
I thought it was terrible too. I was like, you're gonna leave her alone over there for Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Initially I was like, okay, like in my head, yes. I was like, okay, maybe there are actually kids.
Yeah.
That made sense. But the moment that Joan found out that she was just completely alone and that her sister knew that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that poor girl is just gonna be messed up. She is gonna be messed up. Anyway. So still talking about Frances, but more from the perspective of Joan. What did y'all think about their dynamic?
I loved their relationship so much. It was so heartwarming. And it made me think of my own relationship with my niece as well. I would have the same, like Joan's exact thoughts growing up, where she's like, I love her at this age. I love her at this age, but I also can't wait for her to grow up and be an adult. Like I want to see that. Like I just want, like, and she was like, how is it that I'm truly embracing every single moment that I have with her? Why am I still so sad that it's going to be gone? She's like, I am aware that I'm embracing all of this. I'm truly like living in the moment with her. but I'm still going to be heartbroken as heck
Yeah.
when she grows older. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I felt that.
Yeah, I feel like she described all of those feelings really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, already mourning the loss of her childhood,
Yeah.
while still being like, well, she's changing, she's growing, and like, I do want to see that. I was like, that's so like, oh. What did you think?
I really appreciated that Joan was like that one moment of like one stable adult in her life, because she needed that. She was surrounded by her horrible mother, and then the husband that didn't want her. The Barbara wouldn't even let like the grandparents help,
Yeah.
which, you know, that could have been another point of stability. So knowing that she had Joan and just this environment of other astronauts who, you know, without a second thought, when she would take her to parties,
Yes.
really just be inclusive and just immediately like, okay, honey,
Yeah.
you know, we love you. We don't care what's going on with your little childhood life right now. And I really liked it. It was so heartwarming because Joan was the mom that stepped up. She truly was, you know, at the drop of a hat. She's like, I need to go pick up Frances. Can I have her this weekend? You know,
Yeah.
let me stock my fridge and, you know, my cupboard with all the cereals, all the foods, all the snacks she likes. Like, she went the extra mile for that girl. And that's just, you know, real love right there.
Yeah, I agree. And what also stood out to me is every time she was in a position where she wasn't even intending to hang out with Frances that day or take her, she never made Frances feel ill towards her mom. She was always like, no, like, I asked your mom if I could have you this weekend, or like, your mom was super excited to like let me have you. Like, she always made it out to be that like Joan was reaching out to hang out with her, and she never talked bad about her mom to her, despite knowing that like it was her mom causing all of these issues for her. She never spoke bad about her. She always made it out to seem like it's okay. Like, I wanted to pick you up. I wanted to hang out. Like, this was coordinated. Like, this was planned. You're always welcome. And I think she really needed that, because some people would have just been like, no, your mom's a terrible person. And, like, that's why you're here. And like, I didn't even want you this weekend, but guess what? I have to, you know, like that could have been how she acted, but she never was ill about anyone. And I was like, that takes a lot of like, oh, like, okay, like, I have to put on this face and do this, even though like I had plans this weekend and I have to do stuff for work, and I'm still going to fit her into my schedule and not make her feel bad about it.
Which
I thought that was amazing.
Testament to Joan's character. I mean, you know, the emotional aspect, the maturity of it, being able to read situations.
Yes.
It's almost like she's kind of bringing her analytical mind home.
Yes.
And it comes in handy for scenarios like that.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does.
So now we're on to some more characters that I'm very excited about. Talking about Vanessa. So when she was introduced very early on, but when did you start to realize that maybe there was more than a friendship between Vanessa and Joan?
I don't remember the exact moment. It's funny because I remember reading the book and being like, I want them to be together. And then when I was reading a bunch of reviews, people were like, oh yeah, I heard this is Taylor Jenkins Reid, you know, lesbian, second lesbian book or something like that. And it's a love story. So like, people already had that going into the book. I didn't. I went in completely blind.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I hope these people end up together.
Yeah.
But I really, really admired how Joan was in her 30s, right? And just realizing like, I've never really been attracted to people. I've never really had these feelings for anyone else. Like, she would be sick seeing other couples, other relationships. And people around her would be like, do you know who you are, Joan? I'm like, girl, wake up. But I don't know. It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you're just so oblivious in your own world.
Yeah.
Like, you're just living your life. So I really liked that they included that, like, Joan's own own awakening.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you think about that?
I going off of what Ruby had mentioned about Joan being in her 30s, I really like that it was, you know, an adult kind of coming of age story. We find Joan kind of realizing, having moments of like, well, this friend of mine, he's very handsome. He is, you know, women defender. He is so sweet. He's educated. He's like, you know, the total package. I'm not attracted to him.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was just like little moments of that. I'm not going to lie, though. There were moments where it felt like she could have been almost asexual.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, it
Yeah.
seemed like she was just, you know, I'm not really attracted to anyone or anything.
Yeah.
I'm very
Every time
passionate
she was
about
like,
my
I can't
work.
imagine having to hold a like, what do they talk about when they go home?
Yeah.
I was like, girl, what?
It turns out she was just heterophobic. But it was, I really liked it. It was interesting, though. I will say it was a very interesting choice. And I still don't quite know how I feel about that. to have Joan's moment of
Her sexual
kind of
awakening.
at the strip
Yeah,
club.
I saw a
That
lot of
was
people say
a
negative stuff
little,
about
you
that.
know,
Yeah.
like
It's like really you're in your 30s and this is what it makes it.
yeah, like I think I would have maybe appreciated more if it was like the more maybe she saw like other astronaut workers or maybe more thoughts about Vanessa.
Yeah.
But it took a topless stripper that named Raven,
Just like a man.
you know. So maybe that was, you know, Taylor Jenkins Reid's own personal experience,
True.
kind of, you know, because she did come out as bisexual, I think, because of this book.
Oh, love that.
It could be because of this book. I could be wrong. Fact check that, please. But yeah, that was just an interesting take. But with that said, I really did enjoy like kind of seeing her mind process that from like a scientifical, you know, scientific. Scientifical is not a word, I apologize. But from like a scientific perspective, you know, her analytical mind just kind of being like, these men are great and I don't see what everyone else sees in them.
Yeah.
Why are they dating? You know.
Yeah.
But she was quick to pick up on other people's relationships, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Reverse gaydar.
Reverse gaydar.
Yes. Yeah, I really liked throughout the book getting to see her thoughts on everyone's relationship because I kept being like, her questions about like them being able to hold conversations when they're alone or like wanting to hug or like just show like they're in a relationship and like they're excited about it. And she was like, why would you want to do that? Like, when would I go for my runs? When would I play the piano? Like, when would I draw? So I was like, oh, like, girl, maybe don't want to be in any relationship.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah, she makes a comment too where she's like, I just find it weird that two people are like drop paths of like they
Yes.
drop part of themselves
Yes.
to be in a relationship. And it's like, why would people do
Yeah.
that? I forgot about that moment you mentioned it, which brings their relationship even much more beautiful because it's like truly they drop so much of their lives in order just to be with this person.
Yeah. But I think overall, I don't honestly remember when I was first like, oh, I think they're going to be something more. Because it happened so slowly. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, like they finally realized it. And the strip club part of it, I was like, oh. But also maybe it was the 80s. So I'm like, maybe there just wasn't as much for her to expose herself to.
And the
media.
media.
Like it wasn't like readily available for her to do her own thinking outside of being in public spaces. And she also really, I don't think ever even thought that she could be lesbian or anything. So I don't think she saw anything out until that one random night where she was like, well, I'm not going to look like a loser. I'm going to go in. And then she was like, holy crap. Like I've never even thought to make myself experience these different things. So maybe that's why I was
Maybe
like,
just seeing women like women in power for once as well, like strip clubs, like you're seeing the women and they hold so much power against everybody in there or whatever. I don't know, maybe that's the trope.
Yes,
it is interesting though. I do like how you kind of frame that about like Joan being so, you know, involved in the world of academia and not really going out and experiencing other things. Like, sure, she'd go out to eat, you know, she would take care of her family, but she never really had those kinds of outings, like going out to, you know, get crazy blitzed with some friends or, you know, I guess go to strip clubs. So that's a very good perspective on it. Like, and this really was eye-opening for her.
She didn't get to have the niche sexual awakening that people are so comfortable having these days.
Yeah, because we're watching this music video over and over.
No, exactly. And also at that time, I mean, we can tell in the book that it's very frowned upon, especially in her work, to even have those thoughts or even consider being like, oh, maybe I am. So that may have also pushed her to like not even think like that's something she should consider, because that would have been bad for her, like losing family or friends and stuff like that.
I don't think they once say the word lesbian in this book.
No, they don't.
They do not. And then, okay. That also kind of goes into what I was just saying about like maybe she didn't want to consider those things because of what she could lose. So what did y'all think about their decision, Vanessa and Joan, to actually form a real like girlfriend and girlfriend relationship? Like, we're doing this even though they knew that there were consequences not only in their workplace but they could have lost friends, they could have lost family. What did y'all think about them committing and going through it for years together? I
love how it was written. It was written so beautifully where it was like the heterosexual couples don't realize how easy they have it.
Yes.
Like they get to just be out there in the open. Like the second they start liking someone, they could be like, I like you. Yeah, let's go hang out. Let's go be with each other more, you know, around our friends and family. They get to have an open marriage. They get to have
an open marriage.
But like everything's out there. They don't have to stress at all about hiding anything a part of their relationship. And it's like something that a lot of heterosexuals take advantage, or not even take advantage, but something that they don't realize, you know? So I really liked the way that was written, where it's like, man, just to have these little moments, we have to go through like A to Z.
Yes, it's going on
So
a
much,
flight, taking a flight to another area so that no one can recognize them, simply to hold hands and have a picnic. Yeah. What did you think about them still committing to having this relationship?
I loved it. It really kind of goes to show the struggle, you know, back then, and even today to an extent, you know, it feels like we've been regressing. And so while, you know, certain couples do have it a bit easier today, back in the 80s, like, you know, Ruby was kind of expanding upon in what we read about in the story, they have to be very calculated, very meticulous. And no matter how careful they are, they even, you know, they still kind of get in trouble. Although I'm not entirely sure it's still about them, because it seemed a little ambiguous when he was like, you know, because there's a moment where their supervisor or their general comes to Joan and is like, hey, so, you know, you get along with everyone. Can we just make sure that everyone stays in line? You know, no, you know, no violence, no drug taking, no sexually deviant behavior.
Yeah.
And she kind of takes that to mean like, they know.
Yeah.
So I personally don't think that he was, you know, singling them out, but it's understandable that, you know, she's like, they know, oh my goodness, everything that we worked for, because this is like maybe 3 or 4 years into their relationship, and they've been so careful, you know, they make sure at work to like, you know, sit a seat apart. They'll kind of be like, oh hey, how have you been? Great, you know, catching up. And even Frances, they still hide it from Frances because, you know, she's a child. She could potentially blab on accident. And Barbara could be like, you're never going to see my daughter again. I'm never going to see her again. So, you know, there's a lot of calculated steps they have to go through. But the fact that they love each other so much just to, you know, they're like, it's worth the risk. I'd rather lose my job, my chance to pilot this ship. I'd rather go back to teaching at a university than not envision a life without you. Because they do have like a third act breakup, which it's basically lesbians being dramatic, you know. So, but it was, that scene was really beautiful because they were still like, I don't care. Like, you talked. You said your piece. Let me talk. I don't care. We're in this together. We're in this for life.
Yeah.
You know, it was very beautiful. And I do like, it felt like Vanessa was going to be kind of a Playboy character when they were like kind of introducing her and kind of like, you know, talking about her life. But she wasn't. She was such a softie.
Yeah,
and it was
she
so
was.
nice to read. And it's like,
I mean, it just shows when you meet that right person.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously it was very like strong of them to do that, but it sucks that even has like just to go through a relationship is like, oh, they're so brave, they're so strong, but they really were, because they really could have lost a lot. But I really liked in the writing like the subtle ways they shared that like their friends knew that they were in a relationship, but they never said anything. They never like made them feel like they needed to say anything to them.
Allies.
They just kind of accepted them quietly, and like even as they like, it was just really cool to see their friends do that in a time where like their friends could have also like been put in that bubble with them of like, oh, like you're allowing that in your home or around your children. And then they brought Frances in. I was like, those are some good friends. Like they're just quietly accepting. They're like, oh, if you're coming for Thanksgiving, maybe Vanessa wants to come, like you can all come, like we're having all of our friends, like look, so and so's coming later, like not making it out to be like, well, I don't want you to be alone. And they accepted that so much easier than her own sister. When her sister was like, why would you bring someone to my wedding? You have no friends and you're not dating anyone. Like who brings a friend? And her own husband had to be like, why couldn't she bring a friend, you know? And her own friends never were like, oh, well, why would you want to bring Vanessa? Like,
except for Jimmy. He was the
Jimmy. Jimmy should have been the one guy to die in this book.
No,
hated that.
He was the misogynistic, like, you guys are here a little early.
And you're always together.
And they were roommates.
Oh, okay. And Joan was just like,
takes one to know one, Jimmy.
No, literally. And she was like, well, I guess you've never had a friend. And I was like, burn.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. But yeah, so I really enjoyed that. And I like that subtle ways. And their little breakup scene literally had my heart hurting. I was like, no. And when Vanessa actually left the room, I was like, no way. I was like, no way. But when she called from the payphone outside the window, I was like, okay, cool.
Had to fish a quarter out of a pocket.
Yeah. So I was like, no way. But that I think was like a really good thing to show, and then of course it led right into Vanessa leaving for her mission. So I was even just like already down bad about them like trying to break up but not ending up breaking up and doing all this.
Goodness, it would have been worse because you see
Yes.
the date when that happens and you think, oh no, is this
I
disaster
know.
happening with them broken up?
Yes, that's exactly what I was.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And then when they didn't, I was like, okay, so this is probably gonna hurt even more now. Got it.
They're on good terms.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so they're still together and now they have to do this. Got it. And then just going into it, like that part before we get to like the conclusion of the book, but were there any parts that we haven't talked about or that you want to expand on more that you found were like the most impactful in the book or that stood out to you the most?
The men in
Yes.
their lives.
I was-
Griff,
yeah.
Hank, Steve, who all die, spoiler alert. It's so sad. But they're truly like the men that, subvert the expectations of the 80s, not misogynistic.
Yes.
They truly want to give these women chances to succeed and to be part of the team, and they form lives, they get married. Griff, he's in love with Joan, but he handles it like a champ. He's like, no worries. You're probably doing some self-discovering right now. I'll give you time. Just give me some time, but we can still be friends down the line.
Yeah.
And they're just, the way the men are written, it's just, it's sad that this is like the standard. This should be the bare minimum. But, for them to have that kind of, group in the 80s, it's refreshing. And then even Lydia comes around, which is, she's a tough character to like, but
she
Joan
really
put in that
is.
time.
Yes,
and
Joan really did.
Well, I really liked the conversation between Lydia, Donna, and Joan when they were talking about how to handle like misogyny and how to handle them being in the field. Lydia ends up joking around with Jimmy as well, like feeding into that sexist jokes. And Joan is like, why are you doing that? That's not the way we should be. And Lydia's like, well, I think in order for us to be in this field, like we have to kind of appease to the men in a way. Like this is the first time women are in NASA right now. And she's like, in order to win in this field, we have to almost become like men. And Joan is kind of like, no, that's not, like, we shouldn't just accept this. Like, but I don't know. I really, really liked that conversation because I was like, how do you handle that? How do you handle that in this point in time? What is the right thing to do? Because I obviously, like Joan, I was like, yeah, no, heck those guys. Like go to the general or whatever, the Antonio supervisor. And say all this, like, or complain about all the sexist remarks that they're making. But then again, like I see Lydia's point too, where she's like, then that's just bringing attention to us. We're going to be seen as
complainers.
We're going to be seen as emotional women, that we always are. So I was like, that's a really tough situation to deal with. Like, what is the right way to handle those or like in this point in time?
Right, because we see 3 points of views, because Donna's more on the passive side, but she's incredibly, perceptive. And so they all come to the agreement that this sucks, but there's no one right way to handle it. And I thought that was like a really good kind of mature way to...
I feel like it was definitely realistic. Because they're not going to all come away from the conversation like, yeah, we're buddy now. We know exactly how we're all going to like handle it together. Like, that's just not how it works. And I felt like how you felt, where I was like, the whole time I was like with Joan, I was like, why would you accept that? But then I had to keep remembering, like, this is the 80s. It is not now. And even now, like, I feel like we put up with a lot of stuff that like, most people shouldn't, but we do. And that's just kind of like, we probably don't even realize sometimes what we are accepting in our day to day. So I was like, it's the 80s, which makes it like way worse. There's so few women in their field. They work so hard to get there. So then with Lydia, I'm like, maybe I honestly, without realizing it, would turn into a Lydia, just because I'm like, I don't want to lose this. Like, exactly. I wouldn't ever get back into this if I lost this one thing that I have that I love. So I was like, oh my God. And then Joan would say something. I'm like, okay, but yeah. And then Lydia would say it, and I was like, like, I really don't know what I would do.
They just had so much pressure on themselves. I mean, they talk about it too with Sally Ride being the first woman in space. It's like, can you imagine the pressure she was feeling? Because if anything goes wrong on this mission, they're going to blame her. And like, we still see that today. God forbid a woman's president. If anything goes wrong in the world, guess who's going to be blamed? Like, that's always that way. So it's just showing like how much pressure is always on the women to act right, to do the right thing. Everything has to go perfect when you're a woman. God forbid anything bad happen.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked, and also talking about the guys, I like that they wrote it, or that the author wrote it in a way where they also weren't being overly gentle with the women. Like they weren't like, oh, it's okay, like I'll make more time for you to get your ride. And they were just like, yeah, I get it, like stuff comes up and I'm not going to say, oh well, you're a woman so you have to go take care of the kid, or like say like anything like that. But they weren't also just like, oh yeah, I get it, like things, like they weren't so overly gentle, but they also weren't like, oh, of course, because you're a woman. Like they were somewhere in the middle where they were just, that was just how they were. They weren't putting on a like act. It felt like that was just genuinely how they thought things, which I was like, that's pretty neat.
Like they treated him as another person.
Yeah, it's just how they would handle if a guy couldn't make the flight, or if the guy needed more help with something. Like they treated him the same. Yeah. Which I was like, oh, like, and at first I was like, maybe it's just going to be that one guy. But when it ended up being like most of the people they were with, and then they would stand up for them even in front of the men, which I felt it was even harder for them to probably do at that time, to not be associated with, oh, you're going to stand up for the women. Like, oh, okay, I see where your loyalties lie or something. So I feel like that was really cool. I liked both of those perspectives, and getting to see the women and how their minds were working at the time. I was like, yeah, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of mental things to think about while also being literally a NASA astronaut. Like thinking about, well, if I do this, will they say something because I'm a woman? But the men are just like, like, yeah, I'm an astronaut. Like, I'm not worried when I'll get picked because I know I'll go up into space at some point. Like, okay. And then, okay, so now getting to more of the conclusion of the book. I was an emotional mess, guys. I really was. But do you think there would have been as great of an impact in the ending if Joan was not the one person communicating with the team in space?
No, that upped the stakes a lot, because she was right there. She was there when, they were like, this person died, this person died. The latch isn't closing, you know, and then communicating with Vanessa of all people.
Via code, not even able to say what you truly want, because thousands or hundreds of people are listening on your conversation.
Just straight Navigator Houston. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, like it would have been different if it was just kind of like Joan pacing back and forth in the control room, but not being an active part of everything. Like it still would have been dramatic and it still would have been emotional, but this just takes it to a whole different level.
Like they truly, I mean, Joan had to put feelings aside and think about, okay, am I being biased? Should she try to save Lydia? Like, is this really the right thing to say? But then her own supervisor saying, no, like, don't save Lydia, like save yourself, Vanessa. And she's like, save yourself, Vanessa. Just do it. Jesus Christ.
Hysterical, just like a woman. No, she didn't get hysterical.
She did not.
She handled it like a champ.
Yes, and I really liked their communication and getting obviously to. I really liked that it would switch between what Joan was experiencing internally, and then we would see what Vanessa was thinking.
Yes,
and the little ways. Obviously, they've been in a relationship for so long, so the subtleties of how just Joan would reply. Vanessa was like, "Oh my God, she's gonna kill me! Like she's thinking this," and all we're hearing is, Navigator, please turn this latch. And Vanessa's like, oh my God, like she must be trying not to break down right now. And then Vanessa replies so stoically, like, I'm not going to be able to get these closed. Like, I'm just going to have to try to get Lydia back and I may die. And then Joan's like, oh my God, she's probably going to be like so mad that I like can't tell her to stop, you know? And I'm just like, and all we hear is Houston, Navigator. But like the emotions behind what they're saying and they understand that. I was just like, oh my God. Like I was just like, why can't, yeah. But I liked that she was in that position.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
just
definitely.
For the story, not that she actually had to deal with that stuff. That was not good.
Because she would have had to deal with the fallout of everything. She deals about, like, Vanessa's mom. She thinks about Francis. She thinks about, all of their, co-workers and stuff. She's like, poop's going to hit the fan.
Yeah. That, oh my gosh. What did y'all feel about, like, Vanessa's almost, like, basically, like, farewell statement to everyone? Like, she was just like, everyone's listening, but, like, I have to... What did y'all think about that final conversation that they were like, this is going to be our last conversation?
I think it's just crazy. Like, it just really goes to show we don't understand the mentality that astronauts have to have sometimes. Like, it's very do or die. And like here, like on ground control, we can be like, no, you have to do this. This is the right thing to do. But when you're an astronaut and you're there and you just like, it's like God complex almost. Like you're up there, you're seeing everyone from so far away. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like astronauts just... I feel like they should rule the world.
It's funny. I feel like they're so
knowledgeable. Like they're like, I love seeing like astronaut post interviews as well when they come back from space and they're just like, bro, we should all be united. Like when you see yourself just on a little floating rock in space, realizing all the people that you ever knew is on that planet. Like, why are we fighting each other?
Yes.
You've got to be a little bit more united. We're on the lifeboat right now.
Yeah.
They're enlightened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're enlightened. So I just like astronauts should rule the world. They know everything. They know the right thing to do.
Lesson learned from this book. Astronauts should rule the world. But yeah, I think what made it, I think, more like impactful, their final conversation, was the fact that they were trying to just say like, I love you basically that whole time, but they had to say it in such an offhand, how do I say this without just like completely outing ourselves, even though like at that moment, everyone started to realize like, oh my God, like they're together and she's having to have this conversation with her. And that's really difficult. So I was like, that must have been so much more like draining to have to keep a stoic face, keep using the terminology she's like trained to use while trying to say goodbye. And then Vanessa, when she was like saying like, don't think like I never felt loved by y'all, make sure Frances knows that like this was not my intention to leave her. I was like, oh my God. Okay, like this is too much.
And
this
then
is too much.
When she brings up the Bowie song too.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh.
You know, Space Oddity part. She's like, you know what the favorite part in my song, in that song, is when he says, "Tell my wife I love her very much. She knows." And that's basically her just straight up saying like,
Yes.
Like I said, astronauts know bangers too. Like the astronauts that just went on Artemis, they had a whole banger of a playlist. Oh my God.
heck yeah, they got taste. They're
They do.
enlightened. They have taste. You know, they're the superior humans.
Yeah, we're calling them superior humans, where they're like, there's no superior human, we should all be one. And we're
Exactly.
like,
You are. Just take the title, man.
No, we are.
we are with you. But yeah, so their final conversation, I feel like it was just so well done to where they didn't just like still give up, but they were just like, okay, like this is kind of like, we have to go back to work mode, like this is it, you're gonna do it, team, like, can she leave? Okay, 1 2 3. Like it was still following such a procedure while such chaos was happening, not only for them, but everyone was just about to watch every astronaut die. The other family members are still in the room just learning that their husbands died while holding their new baby. So like there's just so much going on, but it's so like, okay, you're gonna leave, you're not gonna follow orders, we're just gonna have to count this off. And then it goes back into procedure mode where like, are you ready, are you ready, are you ready?
Yeah.
And then Joan just saying like the floor just fell from below her when they stopped answering. I was like, I was like, what do you mean? Okay. The final question I had was just, how did you feel about the final conclusion? Like where Vanessa came back on the intercom and all they said was hi, and the book ended. There was no epilogue. There was no like, what happened next? Did y'all want more, or were you like, yep, that's exactly what it needed?
The epilogue, I don't think it would have been necessary. Like, if she wants to down the line, she could post like a bonus chapter on her website and be like, here you go for you crybabies. But
For you
I thought it
crybaby.
was nice. It was just kind of, a testament to, their relationship and their kind of love.
Yeah.
They didn't need the flair. They didn't need the
Yes.
extras. You knew what was going to happen. They had cemented, how they felt about each other a few chapters before. And with this ending, just kind of like them hi, that's basically them saying like, oh my God, I love you. Thank God you survived. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great. I really liked it. It left me satisfied. It didn't leave me, like, that's it. No, I was very satisfied. And even like 30 minutes after I was done reading the book, I was still like, that was good.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I read too, that's how the relationship started, with those exact same highs.
Yes.
So I was
In
like,
the bar.
we came full circle. That's it. Mwah.
Yes.
Leave it at that.
Yes, agreed.
all right. So with that, that's going to end our discussion on Atmosphere. Thank you for sticking with us. We had a lot of thoughts about this book. And if you're so inclined, because you want to read about this book after hearing our very vibrant discussion, please make sure you get your BiblioTech library card and check it out on cloudLibrary. It's available in both ebook and audiobook format. But with that, we're going to wrap it up here. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Rosanna,
I'm Miranda.
I'm Ruby.
and we will catch you guys on the next episode.
Hi.